And welcome into the Tuesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start to their day today. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Doing all right. Had a nice night with you last night bowling.
Yes.
And many other people for George Placer's event. So you asked me if I was sore. I'm not sore. I'm a little tired because I came home. I was like, I'm going to go to bed. And then I got sucked into Jameis Winston throwing the ball over the yard, and I stayed up all the way until that last pick. Pick six. The devil, also known as the devil.
Yes.
The pick six.
I mean, if you could encapsulate the Jameis Winston experience in one game, I think last night's probably it. Throws for 497 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, 2 of which were a pick six, and they lose. So 500 yards of passing, a total of 6 touchdowns thrown, 4 of them to his team, 2 of them to the other team. What a night for Jameis. And then in the post-game press conference says, I just need the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes. He knows he's better than this.
He's amazing. I will say, the Cleveland Browns, the pick sixes and the picks, I know, the last one was, look, it was a great play, great break on the ball. They're kind of in desperation mode. Granted, they needed a field goal, so it's not like you have to take risks. He turns it over too much. He's incredibly talented too.
Yeah.
You watch that game, and his arm talent, and I do wonder what interest there may be for him.
You don't just stumble upon 500 yards passing in the National Football League.
Right. It's just but it's always the same thing. It's if you could just clean up, the mistakes. Yeah, I think he just trusts his talent too much sometimes, you know. But there are way worse ways you could go at quarterback than him. And, it just popped into my head. But and I don't even know his contract situation. Was this just a 1-year deal with the Browns?
I don't know.
I will check on that. Because he let's take it to the Titans. Let's take it to the Titans and say, what about the idea of him with Will Levis?
Well, my thoughts on that.
Right. Obviously, selfishly speaking, yes, it would be amazing from a media perspective. Football-wise, does that make any sense at all?
I don't think it would be the most popular path for the Titans. Obviously people are going to want, if it's not going to be Levis, they're going to want a draft pick. But in the scenario we've discussed of, all right, Levis is back next year, but you bring somebody in to compete with him. Does Jameis stack up to that? Is Jameis competing with Levis for an NFL starting quarterback job at this point in his career? How old is he? He's only 30, which is kind of amazing to think about.
He's on a 1-year, $4 million.
He's been in the league forever.
Yeah, he's on a 1-year, $4 million deal, by the way.
Yeah, which is not much money.
Right. I might command a little bit more. Yeah, they want a draft pick, but that's, are you picking 8th?
Right.
And do you even like those quarterbacks? That's where it's there are better, if you could get a Darnold, okay, fine, but there, how many people after him are good?
Yeah, not many. That's the point, right? So, look, to your point, you could do a lot worse. Now, I think you have to know, it's not changing at this point of his career. This is basically what he's always been. When it's good, it's good. He can move the ball down the field. He puts up gaudy numbers. But it's also, you got to know that somewhere in there, the bad's coming along with it. He's going to turn the football over. Thinking about his last year as a starter in Tampa is pretty incredible. He threw for over 5,000 yards, led the league in passing. He also threw 30 picks, which is pretty difficult to do.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. I don't know if it's going to be that extreme.
That's pretty LASIK.
It is pretty LASIK. I don't know if it's going to be that extreme, but, some level of what you saw last night is the experience with him. You can have amazing offensive output, and you can have just debilitating turnovers.
Right. Yeah. Look at. I mean, I think at some point you get to where you have to win.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you love a rookie, you have a chance to draft one of them. Okay. And you can't count on that person winning for you. I mean, it's just not realistic. So a lot of this is Levis. It's like, does Levis do enough to be here next year? I mean, I think he's kind of on the way. I think he's pushing toward that. But I don't know that he's pushing toward, it is his job next year. You know, and that's where someone like Winston, it could be a bit of a competition. And then it could be, okay, well, now you've seen 8 more games of Levis, and it's just not quite enough.
Right.
And then, at least Winston could give you a spark if the team is somewhere. I mean, you have to get yourself to like a 500-ish team.
I mean,
year.
If I'm a Titans fan, I don't hate the idea of a quarterback competition heading into next year. Like, whether it's with Jameis or somebody else that's a veteran. I mean, the idea that Levis can come back, but he's not just gifted the starting job. I think, like, as we sit here today, if we were making a decision, I'd probably be okay with that if I'm a Titans fan. With the understanding that either maybe you're not in a great position to draft a quarterback you like, or maybe you just don't like most of these quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year. Like, the idea of him going into camp next year in competition with an actual legitimate veteran quarterback is not the worst thing in the world to me. And if he wins it, great. And if he does it, okay.
Yeah. And it's just how many people make that happen, I mean,
I think the list is short.
Yeah. You'd love to stumble across another Tannehill-like situation. You probably can't count on too many of those. What he did for them for a few years, but I feel like Winston is a candidate for something like that.
I would agree. So, Jameis, I mean, especially if the Lord can deliver him from the pick sixes, then he's going to be in good shape heading into next year.
Maybe he can exercise the pick sixes.
That would be good.
Before he gets here.
That would be good. Joe, the college football playoff rankings coming out. There's a great deal of bickering going on right now on Vol Twitter, and I know that's going to shock you.
No way.
About whether or not Tennessee is going to host a playoff game. And right now, kind of the bickering is going back and forth between either Ohio State fans and Tennessee fans, or some of our friends in college football media and Tennessee fans. I saw Chris Vanini and Ari Wasserman in the thick of it last night with Vol Twitter about Ohio State, Tennessee, and if that's the 8-9 matchup at the end of this thing, who deserves to be at home, who deserves to be on the road. Ari Wasserman thinks it's pretty clear that Ohio State needs to be the home team.
Homer.
You brought up yesterday that Ubben had currently the Vols hosting Ohio State. How do you view Tennessee, their positioning for a home playoff game, and the argument right now between Tennessee and Ohio State fans as to if they're the 8-9 matchup, who deserves to be at home, who deserves to be on the road?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting discussion. It's a good, close discussion. Should be a reasonable human discussion. Boy, some really interesting responses to my guy Vanini here. Poor Chris. Welcome to Vol Twitter. It's like, you piece of baby, he
got fully baptized into Vol Twitter.
I'm sure he's dipped his toe in once or twice before. I will say that there's, those guys said something that I disagree with a little bit, which is like the idea of equating the Michigan and Arkansas losses. I think a couple things that are different. One is that one just happened. I mean, Tennessee's better. These are things that you have to discuss as a committee, and you have to acknowledge. Tennessee is better now than when they played Arkansas. I'm not doing the would they beat them if they played again. The whole would this happen or would that happen doesn't mean anything, because we got a million results this year where I said would Northern Illinois win at Notre Dame. Right. No, they'll lose by 40. Well, guess what? But Tennessee is better. It happened a long time ago. Michigan happened 3 days ago, right? So that's one thing that I think has to matter. And also, I mean, like you were at home, and I think that matters too. I mean, Michigan. I think Michigan obviously has gotten better too. So like they were down bad this year, and I think they've gotten better. But they're still they're a middling team, just like Arkansas. What did Arkansas end up 6-6?
Yes.
Yeah, and Michigan ends up 7-5 with this win. I mean, very similar level of quality. And one of the teams lost. So I think it was Ari in particular who said like the Arkansas loss is way worse than the Michigan loss. I don't agree with that. I think all these SEC and Big Ten teams in the middle, shake them up, put them in a bag, pull one out, and they're not that different from each other. So, and also, I mean, we're nitpicking one thing. Now, I will agree with what one thing Ari said, which is that Ohio State has better wins.
Yep.
They have,
which is ultimately why I think they're going to be at home.
Yeah, I mean, they have, they basically have 2 wins of real significance, and Tennessee has 1, right? So, yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to just how much this really bad performance by, I mean, betting lines, I don't know. I'm sure the committee would say, hell no, we don't talk about that. But I mean, they were a 23-point favorite at home against Michigan. So, and I don't know what the line was, but Tennessee was not a 23-point favorite at Arkansas.
I don't think they were even a double-digit point favorite at Arkansas.
I mean, like,
if memory serves me correctly.
So, how much do you knock Ohio State for just a clear, terrible underachievement at the end of the year, costing you a spot in the Big Ten championship game? I mean, I think that's just how much does this performance hurt them? I mean, it's the last thing we saw. Recency bias is a thing here. I mean, granted, sometimes it's just like, wow, great win over Mercer, Alabama. Let's shoot you up the rankings. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's real close. You could still argue that Ohio State's resume is just a smidge better because of those 2 wins. Indiana, and impressive over Indiana, and then obviously winning at Penn State. Winning at Penn State is good. I mean, Penn State could end up being the number 1 seed here in the playoffs.
They could.
So keep that in mind.
What's going to be interesting is if they lose, particularly if they lose by a significant margin to Oregon, like what happens with them? Because then they have 2 losses as well, same as Ohio State. Ohio State beat them on the road, and they don't have really a good win. So, like, I mean, they're going to be in, but where do they fall at that point is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, another one that's, everybody, if you think about it in terms of a lot of teams are really hoping for Clemson to not win. And I'm sure, I know we're not probably the biggest Dabo supporting show in the land, but if they win, SMU is going to fall, right? So that's another team that, that first of all, I mean, if you're a Tennessee fan, that might be the best of both worlds. Yeah, you may not like Clemson, but if they win, and I think that probably takes Bama out of it. And then, let's see, I'm looking at Heather Dinich's projection. She doesn't have Bama in it right now. God, Miami, man, I don't know, but
I don't think Miami's getting in.
But if Clemson wins, gets the auto bid, SMU then drops. So Tennessee is still safe. They're still making the field.
Yeah,
and then Alabama might be out. That might be kind of best case scenario, right? You get Bama out of there, and there's another team you could move past in the pecking order and get a home game.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the college football playoff, where Tennessee is going to end up slotting in this thing, plus some comments from Brian Callahan yesterday regarding the quote-unquote hangover that the Titans had against Washington. We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Jeff wasn't the only guy that has such a level of success that guys have trouble dealing with coming out of it.
No, not at all. I mean, no. We, as I even said last week, is that, it's one win. We haven't arrived. We haven't done anything that would require us to have to worry about that. And all we're trying to do is stack good weeks together. And I thought we were on a good trajectory, a big win on the road, and to come out and play the game the way we did was just disappointing. To go down in that game early and not be able to come back. And there's no part about anything that I feel or our team should feel is that we should have an issue dealing with that. And again, that's after the game and in the heat of the moment. But yeah, we shouldn't have had any issue.
That was Brian Callahan yesterday at his Monday press conference, reacting to what Jeffrey Simmons put out there after the game on Sunday, Joe, that maybe the Titans a little hungover from the win in Houston, not dealing with success the way that they should, which we talked a lot about yesterday. It's like, really? You guys won one game? Is that the success that we're talking about here? Did not seem like Brian Callahan was a huge fan of those comments. Now, he got him multiple times in his press conference yesterday, Joe. Basically, without totally saying what I said yesterday, kind of allude to that, whereas, yeah, it's a post-game press conference, and sometimes they're just trying to get out of there. He didn't say that, but he kind of alluded to that and how they haven't watched the film, and sometimes they're just searching for answers that they don't really have in the moment. But I did find that quote interesting from Brian Callahan yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, like 90% of post games for losing teams, I'm probably low on that. It's probably like 98%. Like there's at least somebody who says, well, it wasn't anything they did. It was us. Right. Like, the answer always has to be, the answer can never be, yeah, that team's just way better than us and kicked our butt.
Right.
Like that can't ever be the answer. The answer always has to be something is wrong with us. We have something, again, it doesn't have to be something all that deep, but it's something we did wrong. We didn't execute. We weren't ready, all that stuff. But when you start getting into we weren't ready, or, yeah, we were hungover from success, which is hilarious with the one win, then it's like, wait a minute, what? And, of course, and look, I mean, sometimes I have seen coaches, certainly seen that too, where it's like I could tell all week, right? Like the practice or whatever, bad basketball, last couple of days, practice was bad. We played just like we practiced, all that stuff. So is Callahan one of those guys who at some point the team plays poorly? He comes out publicly and says, yeah, I mean, I don't know, because he does generally seem to keep it positive. I mean, I think back to Vrabel, who mostly wouldn't say much about anything, but like I remember, I want to say it might have been the loss to the Texans at home when they shouldn't have lost, and like Malik had to play. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
It would have been 2 years ago, but he was all of a sudden went off on this whole, got some 9 to 5 guys.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff like that. I think one thing Callahan said yesterday that it just makes sense to me is like, we made errors and they took advantage and they went through the whole thing. Like then they scored, this and that happened, made some errors, execution errors. You go look at the film. It's like, is it like everybody's like, ooh, still thinking about Houston, or did you just go in the wrong gap? Did you read it wrong? Did you not communicate? It's execution. Now you gloss over. He did kind of gloss over. Then they scored again. Then they scored. You're like, yeah, at some point your defense probably could have like done something.
Yeah.
Right. Like there was an overall just
lack of pulse.
Yeah. It was an overall poor performance there by the defense that probably goes a little bit beyond a mistake here or there, or good execution by Washington. It was bad, but I mean, I generally agree with, I'm on his side kind of in terms of, yeah, players say stuff, there's gotta be some reason. And frankly, Jeff is he's one of those guys. And he just kind of, he doesn't, Jeff doesn't really get into like wanting to, again, I'm going to go back to like Kevin Byard. He would sit there and break it all down for you. And like from any angle you wanted to. And you're like, yeah, you felt like it was the truth, And that's just not what you're going to get from Jeff Simmons.
Well, and, if you're Callahan looking at this, he also said yesterday that he did not detect or pick up on anything throughout the week that would lead him to believe that the players were just sitting there like, hey, all right, we beat the Houston Texans. We're good. Like he basically was like, yeah, I didn't pick up on any of that throughout the week. So that's when he got into the errors that they made. He mentioned starting off the game with penalties, and then obviously you're turning over the football, and 2 touches of the football, 2 turnovers in a row, and they march right down the field. So I hear what Callahan's saying there. I said it yesterday. Like if I'm a Titans fan and I hear those comments from Jeffrey Simmons, like that's pretty alarming if that's the case. And if there are people in there that were all caught up in what they did against Houston and think that that's some sort of arrival or statement of where they're at right now, then that's not very good. And quite frankly, the more I watch Houston play, the more I'm convinced that maybe they're just not very good. So there's that's involved with it as well.
They're hungover from last year.
Yeah, exactly. So, it always comes down to the execution part of it first, right? Like very rarely is just a team sleepwalking through an entire game in the NFL. But man, it was bad. Like, he talked about the run fits, and apparently the run fits were just all out of whack with them when he goes back and looks at the film. I mean, I hope it's as simple as that. We just didn't fit a run properly basically all game long.
I mean, it had to be true at some point because I'm like, how is that? How is he? You could drive a truck through that hole, right? Look, there's some of those plays. Again, they're heavy gap scheme. They pull a guard, and it just sometimes it's just like blowing someone out of the way.
Yeah,
physically getting beat. But I mean, obviously, there's also some mistakes in there too, right? Sometimes you have a call, and the call goes, the call doesn't work out. And that happens too. But I mean, look. Jared from Spring Hill says, if Simmons said it to be true, that it's true, is the only one on the team left who knows what winning feels like. Yeah, okay. I get that that's true. But again, players after losses, a lot of times it's you're finding some reason and you're just saying something to get out of there, which I think Jeff has been true of Jeff a lot.
Also, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a winner. Let's not throw that out there that Jeff's
he's not exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's others. Yeah, you got him. There aren't too many more.
Traylon Burks got drafted, and they went 7-5 in first place, so they fired the GM.
McCreary was there too for that. So, but yeah, there aren't too many. I guess you go back to, well, wait, was Radin's rookie on the 21 team that was a 1 seed? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, by golly,
all kinds of winners.
Yeah, winners galore. No, but look, the hangover thing. I mean, the follow up with Jeff is okay. So then, was the preparation bad last week?
Right.
Like to me, the hangover is probably more like, oh my God, we're down 14-0. Oh, we fumbled. Okay, we're hungover from the crappiness of the first 10 minutes of the game, and now I put my head in the toilet.
Right.
That's more likely than Houston. Yay! That's just words. That to me.
I would agree with that. There was also, Kuharski was on a mission yesterday. I'll give him credit. All the questions that we talked about with him yesterday in our interview, he brought up with Brian Callahan, including the cold, which apparently was a factor in this game. He brought that up with Brian Callahan. We'll get to that answer coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
That was a pretty average weather day for a November, December outdoor NFL football game. Were you alarmed to hear Jarvis say that he thought guys weren't ready or didn't deal well with the cold?
Yeah, of course. That was alarming to me. We practiced in it all week. We were out there all week. It was colder here at practice than it was in the game. Again, if that's the case, that to me sounds like that's an excuse. But no, I mean, that was about as fair weather a game as you could possibly ask for in December. So I can't comment on where that would have come from, to be honest, Paul.
That's Brian Callahan.
How alarmed are you? Sound the alarms.
I loved it. PK throwing the questions out there yesterday to Brian Callahan.
Yes,
Coach, are you alarmed of how cold it was?
Yes, Paul. Let me placate you by answering that, Paul. What Jarvis Brownlee is from Miami, right? So it's cold for him. All right. So Jarvis is cold. So get an extra heater, all right, extra couple layers for Jarvis for the games, and you'll be fine. Again, this goes in the same category to me as Jeff said. It's just you're coming up with, okay, you're just coming up. It is excuse. Or just,
I understand that. You got to come up with something better.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's dumb.
You got to come up with something way better than, it's cold out here today.
No, it's just like,
we're
what?
prepared for that.
Do we have that from Jarvis by
I don't think
chance?
we do.
Because I would like to hear, did he make it did he really make a thing of it, or was it just like mumbled into another answer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it was cold out there, and we made some mistakes, or was it like, guys, the seas were rough that day? I mean, I kind of need to know exactly how much of a deal Jarvis actually made of it, but yeah, this team gets its butt kicked, team does interviews. Some guys say stuff that's like, what, really? And then the coach has to answer for it, like, yeah. And then Kaharski asks if he's alarmed. It's a beautiful rinse and repeat.
He said, I think the exact quote was, we let the cold get to them. There you go.
What?
Good news for Jarvis Brownlee is, I mean, you got home games in December coming up, and you never know here, right? Like, in 2 weeks when they play the Bengals at home, it could be 20 degrees. It could be 55 degrees in December around here. You never know. Same thing. I haven't looked at the forecast for this Sunday. I can pull it up right now on this device that I have.
Yeah, I think it'll be
58 degrees. Like, it's gonna
really?
It's going to be fine. Might rain a little bit, but it's going to be fine on Sunday. So after that, you're indoor against the Colts. You're going down to Jacksonville. It ain't going to be that cold down there at some point. And then you got a home game on January 5th against the Texans. So you're kind of throwing darts against the wall here in Nashville, but you're not going to Buffalo or Green Bay or anything to close out the season. So Jarvis should be fine.
I mean, imagine if they do. We have to keep an eye on that for the future. If they get one of these like real cold weather places in December, I just count on Jarvis Brownlee going on IR like right before that happens.
Keyser has the clip. Let's hear what Jarvis Brownlee had to say after the game on Sunday.
There we go.
That was during the first quarter. So I don't think guys was locked in anymore. I think guys let the cold get to them. Because, I'm a Florida guy. I don't like the cold, but I know what comes with playing in this profession. And sometimes, you're going to have to play through things that you don't like. And I think guys let the cold affect them. A lot of guys ain't going to say it, but that's what I think happened.
Oh, boy. Maybe that's a little worse than I thought.
You went a little deeper than the seas were rough that day, my friends.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I appreciate him hating it. I get it. Actually, the Titans should trade him immediately to the Dolphins just to continue to perpetuate that narrative, And the Dolphins can continue to have guys who actually can't stand the cold.
Make sure all games start at 12.
Yeah, that's right. He said a lot of guys won't say it, but, dude, it was 40. Right? Like 43 or something. Like,
a lot of guys
wear a long sleeve shirt.
A lot of guys aren't going to be as open with you media people as I am. The cold really got to us there. We were talking about it all game long on the sideline.
We were huddling together. Actually,
you guys ever seen the Ice Bowl? It was nothing compared to this.
We had a breakout of the influenza on the sideline. Then we had some chicken soup. And what? That's like, as we were talking, I was just about to bring this up. I'm looking at the TV and I'm seeing idiotic Christian McCaffrey with his sleeveless out in the snow running around. Again, let me just say this as a take I've had before, but I will give it again. If I owned a football team, I would say when the temperature is freezing or below, or I might even set it 40, you are mandated to wear long sleeves on this football team.
Why is that?
Because it's stupid. No tough guy crap with your bare sleeves. Oh, good. So it can hurt more when you hit somebody? Put long sleeves on. That's what you're doing on my football team. And then the other guys can't blame you for being soft. I'm making you do it.
It's 25 degrees the other night in Green Bay and snowing. Quarterback out there sleeveless.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
I did look at the TV and I was like, everybody else, whatever. Jordan, why don't you go put some sleeves on?
Yeah,
Son?
come on.
Throw the ball.
Get out of here. I respect the guys who are like, so screw you, idiot. Here's my sweatshirt. I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to feel a lot better than you do with your bare sleeves, tough guy. God, it's
Ben
so
Jones
dumb.
would not have liked playing for you.
Yeah, well, that's,
he walks barefoot on the field.
I know.
It's 5 degrees outside.
I would have fined his ass all day long. But yeah, so you have those scenes, and then you got the Titans and Commanders in somewhat seasonable weather. Titans not willing to admit this is really the story. It's the weather.
Well, I need to go back and look because I don't remember. But did Jarvis Brownlee have sleeves on in this game, or was he going sleeveless? And this was just the end result of
it. So there you go. There's another thing. That's the thing. If you are going to bring up weather and then you didn't protect yourself with clothing,
yeah.
I really have no sympathy. I'm sure he had.
All right, now that I've heard I read those comments, but that's a kind of a situation where reading something and then hearing it are two very different things when it comes to Jarvis Brownlee there. Like, I would love to see, like, the first time Brian Callahan saw that clip, what his reaction was. He's like, oh my God, did he really say that? 40 degrees outside.
Well, he probably said, great. So the rookie said whatever, and now Kaharsi's going to ask me about it.
Yep.
Can't wait. Yeah, by the way, I'm looking at the clips, and yes, he had sleeves on. So Good.
There you go.
Good. That's good. If you're going to talk weather, at least protect yourself against the weather.
Yeah.
Good. Again, that's what this is, though. It's a rookie being like, weather. Yeah, it's sure.
Well, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, he seems to. These guys aren't going to tell you, but I will.
That's true.
The weather, big problem for us today.
You're right. I want Kaharski to investigate further this week. Jarvis, who told you anonymously that the weather was? We don't have to name them, okay? But who told you? Who admitted to you that it was really the weather?
How many players were
cost you
talking
this
about
game
the
today?
cold on the sideline?
Yeah. Burr. What?
It really is an incredible quote.
You lose enough, and you start really scrounging.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's going to be 58 on Sunday here in town, so they should be fine. I mean, it might rain a little bit, so maybe wear some sleeves to protect yourself from kind of a cold rain, a little drizzle that could be out there. But 58 degrees, the current high, according to my weather app on Sunday.
So I guess my kid's dream of a snow out is not happening. Last night, as you know, Mike Organ fooled Caroline into thinking that school was called off today. guess that's not happening for a while, huh?
I mean,
wow, we're going to get into 60s next week.
I've seen less than what we got last night. Just cancel school around here before.
Well, that's true. I mean, we're going to get to 60 on Monday. So, I mean, we might be looking at a Pro Bowl level performance from Brownlee on Sunday. His play rises and falls with the weather.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have more on the Titans coming up next. We're going to have basically a Predators State of the Union starting at 7 o'clock. Preds fans, we want to hear from you, the airing of your grievances with the 7, 12, and 6 start to the season for the Predators. We'll have that coming up at 7 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is from Tito's Mexican Restaurant, known for its vibrant flavors and festive atmosphere, bringing the heart of Mexico to Middle Tennessee. Enjoy mouth-watering tacos, sizzling fajitas, and delicious enchiladas, all served with a side of authentic Mexican flair. Get half off a $25 gift card while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Over the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We will have our Nashville Predators State of the Union is what I'm calling it, coming up next to begin the 7 o'clock hour. So we'll take your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Will Levis, we talked about his performance yesterday. Completion percentage wasn't great, 18 of 37. Receivers had a tough time catching the ball for him in this game too. He got hit 9 times, was only sacked twice. So some progress there on the Levis front yesterday. But it's now 4 games, and Callahan talked about this yesterday. He was asked, what he thought about Levis, how you evaluate Levis in a game like that. Said he, thought it was the 4th game in a row where he's built on what he's done the previous week and continued to progress at the quarterback position. And yesterday the game was over before any of this really even started to matter. I mean, it was 28-0 before he had even really done anything on the offensive side of the ball. So it's a little bit of a different game, I think, as a whole to evaluate from Levis. Certainly different than the previous 3 were when they were at least in it throughout the whole thing. So you have to take that into account when you're having this discussion. But it is interesting. Like I was wondering about this. Like, if we took a straw poll from Titans fans right now and said, all right, season ends today, which, as you know, one of my favorite arguments, one of my favorite sayings in sports. Season ends today, and you're forced to decide whether Will Levis is your starting quarterback next year or not. If you're Callahan, if you're Carthon, which way you going? If season ends today. And I don't know what my answer to that is right now. I mean, you asked me 4 weeks ago, it's unequivocally no. Is it still, am I still leaning no? Probably yes. But I think he certainly made it more interesting. And I think it's now to the point, Joe, where all these other factors in terms of your quarterbacks in the draft, the free agent options, we talked about Jameis to begin the show. All of those things, I think, factor into that discussion now, whereas before you had to go get another quarterback, to me. And I think, to his credit, he's played himself into that. I would love to know what Titans fans think of that, because I've seen right now they're on both sides of the fence in terms of the people who are out on Levis, I think, are still staunchly out on Levis. And then I think there's some people that have kind of swung so far the other way where, well, see, Levis hadn't been the problem the whole time. It's been everything else around Levis. And that's kind of where this conversation has drifted on social media.
Yeah, and look, they're even through the bad stuff, there were some loyalists who were like, it's not him, right? So, of course, they're like, now they're doing the I told you so thing. Yeah, I understand, been accused of, not having, not taking a stand. But I can't take a stand on this right now. I'm in the middle. I'm just going to be honest. Like, if the season ended today, okay, so you have the 7th pick. Yeah, that's part of the formula. Part of the equation is what's your evaluation of the quarterbacks coming out in the draft?
Yeah.
Can you get one? Do you care to get one of them? Do you believe they're good enough? And can you get one of them? Okay. But if so, you're drafting 7th. That's the thing. Like, I don't know if like Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders, those guys. I mean, usually quarterbacks end up drifting to the very top of the draft, right? Because the worst teams are up there.
Usually,
I mean, like Carolina might get the number 1 pick. They might also, by the way, be drifting toward, okay, this kid can play, and now they don't use it for that. But that's part of it. Like, if I had to say season ended today, I think Will Levis is on my team next year, and then it's just a matter of, is he on the team with a drafted rookie? Is he on the team with just a backup like this year, and you just give him another year and say, you showed progress, show more. This is the prove it year. That's what I predicted going into the year.
Yeah.
it's still overall lower in terms of performance than I expected from this year. But the last 4 games collectively, when you look at all the numbers and what I've seen, yes, you had the pick 6 against Houston. It's not been perfect, but that if you had a whole season of that, then that's exactly basically what I predicted. Like, it's pretty good, enough good to keep it, but you're not like you're handing him the world after this year. We know that's not happening.
If he had the whole season like he has played the last 4 games, just in the aggregate, then I don't think we'd be asking the question at the end of this year who the starting quarterback for next year was. I also don't know that we would for sure say, well, he better get his bank account ready because the next contract's coming his way. But I think it would be enough to where you would be intrigued about next season, and if he took another step, what that could mean for him as a long-term quarterback. The interesting part of this is, like, how do you – let's say this – and we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. Let's say this level of play continues throughout the rest of the season. How do you balance that with how bad it was to start the year? Like, how do you kind of weigh that on the scale? And, you could take that a couple of different ways. I mean, you could take it as, well, it was a new situation. He was horrible in some of his decision-making, and Brian Callahan coached that out of him. And when he settled in, this was the result, and it was a lot better. You could have that approach. Maybe that's the right answer. I don't know. It's just interesting when you talk about how bad it was to start and where it is now. How do you weigh that at the end of the year? If this what it continues to be down the stretch?
Yeah, I think it's a good debate right now. I think so. What you said, that may be true. I think there's also just he finally figured out on his own. Like, I just have to stop doing this and this and this.
Yeah.
You're like quarterback. All quarterbacks throw picks. All quarterbacks throw pick 6s. They cannot be delivered from pick 6s completely. Okay. But, I also I think that there's 5 games left. So you do 5 more like this, then I think it's easy. I think what you just said is it's hard to argue against it by then, right? You do 5 more games of generally this, which is solid quarterback play.
Yeah.
Then, I think he learned from it, and he probably got more comfortable in the system, got more comfortable with the personnel, got more comfortable with Callahan. They did some things to help him. The coaching work. Again, the whole reason Callahan has the job is quarterback development and his experience with great quarterbacks, right? So 5 more games of that. I think what you said is absolutely going to be the narrative and is the most likely answer right now. With 4, it's kind of like, let's see. There's still to me, a wait and see element here. I know some people are decided one way or the other.
Craig on the text line says, we have so many holes and the problems are all over the team. Just bring Levis back. There isn't a franchise-changing quarterback in this draft. Fill other holes and get a quarterback next year if you need to. I think that's a very popular sentiment. I just wonder, if the Titans agree with that. What if they believe there is a franchise-changing quarterback in this draft?
Yeah, we don't know that there isn't a franchise-changing quarterback in this draft. Sure, the overall class is not superstar class. But again, go to the years when they had superstar classes and find the bust. You'll find a bunch of them. So the Titans, that's what matters. I mean, are these guys making the decision? As far as I know, they are. But if they are, then what do they think? Because again, they absolutely need to be approaching the draft like they are taking a quarterback.
I agree. I mean, if you don't, then that's fine. But I think you certainly – there's not a situation where you don't at least look at that this offseason, right? Like, you got to do your evaluations on these guys coming out. And maybe you do come to the conclusion that Craig has thrown out there, and you're like, not especially in love with any of these quarterbacks. And if that's the case, then I would implore the Titans not to take one. Like, if you don't want to force it at the quarterback position. So if that's the case, do not take one and either figure out a solution in free agency or have Levis the starting quarterback of the team next year.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and draft another one and then start this whole clock all over again.
Yeah. Well, the teams that are like, gosh, we just need a quarterback. Let's try this guy. Well, those are the teams that stay bad.
Yeah.
Someone's saying trade for Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields, I I do think like you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers this year with a great OC hire, by the way, and Arthur Smith, and what they have on offense. And I'm constantly with Justin Fields like, oh, yeah, okay, I see it. Yeah, almost. But then you see what Russell Wilson's doing with all the same conditions, and it's kind of like, yeah, Justin Fields is probably a backup in the NFL.
I think the more evidence, more times he plays, I think the more evidence that kind of mounts on that side.
I mean, again, like with the Bears, I mean, look at the difference with Caleb. The complete bleep show that franchise is, and yet still look at like the quarterback difference from him to Caleb Williams. Pretty vast.
It's pretty stark.
Yeah.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We will get into the Nashville Predators coming up next. Preds fans, we want to hear from you. The airing of your grievances, the Festivus here on Robby and Rexrode of the Nashville Predators. 7-12-6 on the season. They're in a rough spot right now in the standings. We'll get to the reasons for that. Is there any way out of this? How do you reconcile what we've seen on the ice from them to this point? Your thoughts on all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. We're taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour at 7:45. Preds fans, we want to hear from you. This is the Robby and Rexrode Nashville Predators State of the Union that we're throwing out there on this Tuesday morning. Preds are 7-12-6 through 25 games, Joe. That is good for 7th place in the Central Division and 30th place in the league. They are number 30 out of 32 in the NHL through 25 games. 7-12-6. They've lost 3 in a row in overtime by the same score, 3-2, which almost impressive. It's pretty hard to accomplish that. They'll be back at it tomorrow against Toronto. They got a 3-game road trip coming up this week. So tomorrow in Toronto, they got Montreal Thursday, Ottawa on Saturday. They're back home next Tuesday on the home portion of their schedule. We've talked obviously a lot about the team. 25 game mark, pretty significant mark here. We're past American Thanksgiving, which, as we've discussed, has typically been kind of that line of demarcation for the playoffs. Now, I think it's in some ways a flawed stat, and there's a lot that goes into it. But basically, if you're not in the playoffs by Thanksgiving, you got about a 25% chance, roughly, around 25% chance to get there at the end of it. And that makes no distinction of like how far out of the playoffs you are. If you're 1 point out or if you're 8 points out, I mean, it's a difficult road to climb. Right now, that's exactly what the Predators are. They're 8 points out. So Calgary is the last wild card team in the Western Conference. They got the same number of games played you do, and they got an 8-point cushion. So that is not an insurmountable point total to overcome with this amount of time left in the season. The problem, Joe, is that if you watch the Predators play, they have given you no reason whatsoever to believe that they're going to be able to put together the streak that is going to be required to have at some point to make up that ground over the course of an 82-game season. And Elliot Friedman's talked about this. Many people have talked about this. You know, when you're trying to make up that much ground moving forward and you've got the quote-unquote loser point that the Predators have been taking advantage of the last few weeks, well, other teams take advantage of that too, and that makes it pretty hard to make up ground, especially in a division and in a conference that right now is really, really good. So it's looking bad for the Predators. They've won 7 of 25 games. That is obviously not what expectations were heading into the season. How do you reconcile what we've seen from this team? And if this is what it is all year long, how do you put into words the level of disappointment, the path forward from here, if this is what it is immediately this year with the offseason that they have and the state of the Nashville Predators fan base right now in the meantime?
No, it's just shocking. And even talking to some people last night, you know, George Plaster's event, you know, it's like, I can't remember too many situations where a team was just so much a 180 from what it was supposed to be. I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, maybe a 180 is not quite true, but it's like, this is just not at all what it's supposed to be. And it just doesn't look like it's changing. And then even when you do play a little bit better, you give yourself a chance, then you find a way to blow that and screw it up. And because they certainly could have, certainly with the Flyers, but they easily could have had 2 points, you know, at least in 2 of these 3 games, right? They should have.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess you could, if you want to be a real optimist. I mean, the thing is, everything you said, I still look at like an 8-point deficit, and it's like, just have a good week, you know. Have a good week and then make that a second week, and then what are we talking about? But then you watch them play, and it's like, how? Where is that coming from? You know? And so I don't have great answers on why it is, but I think that right now they're on course to be, you know, as disappointing a team as you can imagine. And disappointing a team as the franchise has ever turned out because the expectations were so high. Not like people were picking this team to win the cup or get to the cup final, but I mean, other than like, I don't know, you tell me, other than, like this 17-18 range, President's Trophy, and then that, in that range. And then they had the great, they've had a couple other great teams previously, but like preseason expectations, excitement for a team,
They're high.
This had to be on top 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, that was high. I mean, you would be, before the season, you would have been hard-pressed to find somebody that picked them to miss the playoffs.
Right.
Now, look, like hundreds of people make these predictions, so I'm sure somebody out there did somewhere, but you'd be hard-pressed to find – I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that didn't pick them to finish in the top 3 of their division, much less miss the playoffs. So the fact that it's played out this way to this point is incredibly frustrating. And look, we talked about at the beginning of the year, I kind of built in some time for, all right, well, it is a lot of new. Like you've got 3 pretty major pieces coming in here that are going to have to acclimate. And you give yourself, a few weeks, maybe a month or 2 for that to happen. But we're 25 games in. And the thing is, like, it really doesn't even look like there's much progress being made there. Like, I think you can live with Stamkos not scoring 40 like he did last year, or Marchessault not scoring 40 like he did last year, or Brady Shea maybe taking, a few weeks to get adjusted to the new way of playing in the system and all that. I mean, I watch them from game to game, and they'll have some games where, against Philadelphia, they look like they're on the same page. They look like they know what they're doing, and for the most part, they totally controlled that game. And then I thought the next day against Tampa Bay coming out that Friday, it was just bad. Like they were able to hang around and get a point in there, but it was just long stretches of bad hockey. And it feels like that's what it's been all year long. Like I thought Saturday they played pretty well against Minnesota. Minnesota's 16-4-4. They're number 1 in the league right now.
Despite their coach who doesn't know how to coach hockey.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
But they're number 1 in the league right now. And I thought the Predators were right there to win that game. They get it to overtime, and they end up losing in overtime. But they absolutely could have won that game in regulation. And it would be a game that you look at and you say, okay, all right, that's something to build on. Except that we've seen that 6 times already this year, and they've not been able to build on it a single time. And that's where the frustration comes in.
Real quick, by the way, where does John Hines come in on the, Nashville fans watching other players and coaches go to other teams and do well?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
It's got to be a tough one.
Real enjoyable. Okay, Jesse says, this has been the worst. Bruno's loss, changes are small, not working. It's a very long one, but he says, no, we need to wait till next year. This season seems lost. Go ahead and start building for next year. Everyone keeps talking about last year, saying they did a historic point streak, but there's a reason it was historic. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but again, Robby just said, like, they're 8 points back. I reject, like, to me, and I don't reject making a move or shaking things, whatever, doing something, but I reject this idea that because it's been what it is until now, that it can't change. That you don't try. I mean, you have to me.
Well, people keep talking about like make a move for next year. I don't really know what that means. Like they brought up Svechkov, they brought up LaRue.
He scored a goal. There you go.
Like Willsby on defense, I think through 3 games has looked pretty good. So I mean that's encouraging. Like some of your young guys are coming in and looking pretty good. So that's good. But the problem is, like, contractually right now, there's just not a lot of room for more of them, right? Like Stamkos didn't go anywhere. Marchessault's not going anywhere. Yossi, Forsberg, not going anywhere. O'Reilly at this stage of his career with that contract, probably not going anywhere. Luke Schenn, not going anywhere. I know a lot of Predators fans want to get rid of him. He's not going anywhere. Like nobody's taking that contract. So there's just not a whole lot of wiggle room with your roster. I mean, I've said this. You can move a Nyquist. You can move probably a Sissons if you wanted to. Like there are some other things you can do to create some holes, but like the big core of your veteran group right now, I don't really think you can do anything with. Like you gotta work through it with them.
You have to. You are stuck. That's it. I mean, Fabro and Tomasino are gone. Those guys have been the source of much angst. But Fabro doing pretty well, by the way.
So is Tomasino.
Tomasino doing all right, of course. But I mean, those are two of the young guys, high picks, haven't worked out. Frankly, I mean, I especially with Fabro. I mean, he was here longer than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
But they're both gone. But yeah, it's like, I mean, the moves you can do are around the edges like that.
Right.
The central core of old dudes who aren't playing well, they are going to be on your team.
Well, and look, I thought I mentioned the game Friday. They lose to Tampa Bay, and Stamkos walking in the room after the game, very upset. I mean, you could see the frustration kind of all over his face. And I asked him basically how mystifying it was that they got all these guys in the room that have scored at a pretty high level in their career. And right now they cannot score. They're like the worst offensive team in the league, them in Boston right now. And I asked him about that, and here was his response. It was pretty interesting.
I mean, you know, I have some thoughts on that, but, you know, it's, yeah. Like I said, it's, you know, you got guys that can put the puck in the net for sure, but we need to find ways to generate, you know, getting open and guys seeing things and guys finding seams, and, you know, it's tough. I mean, it's tough to score. It's the hardest thing to do in the NHL, to score goals. And obviously we got guys that have done it. It's a little different this year. You're in a funk and you try to find ways. I mean, we're not going to quit here, but, you know, we need to find a way, and myself included. And it's, yeah, it's tough.
So a couple things on that. Number one, it's one of those things too. Like you can hear it there, but like also when you see it in like there's a video out there, and I'm watching him answer this. He says, "You know, I have some thoughts on that," and you could see him like actively battling in his head. Am I going to reveal these thoughts right now, or what can I say? And I think at the end of it, he decided better than to just air out all of his grievances right there in the media. But you can see it. He clearly wanted to say something. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a shot at the coaching staff. I don't know if it was a shot at his teammates, but he clearly wanted to say something right there. And I paid attention to like what he said after that. He said, "Yeah, we got guys in here that can score, but you also got to generate." And what he means by that is you got to have somebody who can get you the puck, and you got to have a way to generate offense. It's not just about having the finishers. If you can't get open, if you have nobody to get you the puck, it's hard to put the puck in the back of the net. And that's what we're seeing so far this year.
He's not wrong.
He is not wrong. I mean, those comments made their rounds after the game on Friday, and the video is out there, but I thought that was pretty interesting from Stamkos. Clearly frustrated.
Please tell us the thoughts.
Yes. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Your thoughts on the Nashville Predators. Our Robby and Rexrode Predators State of the Union continuing next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. So, Andrew, we talked after the game Saturday about the 5-on-5 play taking a pretty significant step forward. What specifically, when you guys are going 5-on-5, do you think really allows you guys to have that success, and how do you get to it and sustain it more often as you move forward?
Yeah, I think when you see us and when we're connected, when you see guys that are close together, we smother teams, we're on top of teams. We seem to have the puck a lot. We're in a territorial kind of game, a little bit like the Winnipeg game, and we've seen signs of it at different games this year. And that to me is just being the connected part where there's 5 guys and we're above things and we're close to things, we're close to each other, and then we kind of turn it around and come back at you in waves. And we have had trouble sustaining that, for many different reasons. Some of them that we just talked about, but yeah, it's been hard to keep that kind of connectivity going for the 60 minutes. And it's like I said, it's still work. You see it at signs, and there's signs that you're excited about. But again, just that sustainability has been a challenge for us.
As Andrew Brunette on with us last week, talking about when they're connected, 5-on-5, they look good. Problem is, I haven't seen a whole lot of that so far this year at 5-on-5. Offensively, they are stuck on 2 right now. They can't get past. I think it's 4 games in a row that they've scored 2 goals. So obviously you got to score more than 2 on a consistent basis if you're going to win in the National Hockey League. And the offense has been a big problem for the Predators. Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Nate to the program. Nate, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
What's up, guys? So I'm just going to give y'all my thoughts, kind of, I guess, outside of the arena, I guess you could say. So my wife has had season tickets for almost 10 years now. And we have a daughter that is about to have her own seat. And so with that, we're trying to decide if we want to keep the season tickets or if we want to let them go. And that's in about 2 seasons. Right now, they're making it real easy with the decision, even though my friends are calling us stupid because we have it at the lowest price point right now, basically. The Preds used to be appointment viewing for me, especially when Hal Gill was on the radio and was doing post-game and that stuff. Now I sometimes know that they're on and I'm like, I've got better things to do. Or I just don't even pay attention to when they're on. So, that's just kind of where I'm at with the team.
Yep. Thanks for calling, Nate. Look, right now, it's a tidal wave of negativity. And our text line's blowing up right now about the Predators and people's thoughts on what the problem is and what to do from here. I'm looking at stats. I brought up the numbers, Joe. They're at 2.32 goals per game. That's dead last in the National Hockey League. Think about having that discussion in the preseason with all the offensive firepower they brought in, being 25 games in the year and you're dead last in scoring in the NHL.
Right. And again, then you take it to, again, like both of these teams, not only bad, but like not even entertaining bad.
Right.
Boring bad, which is the worst bad, really. So I get it. Yeah, I understand. So the negativity, apathy, all these things result from that. There's still so much of this season left, but I understand. And like you said, there's a lot of frustration. Here's an interesting thought from Joel in White House. Says the Predators' issues boil down to a coach who wants to play fast and an aging team that can't meet that demand. Well, I don't think Brunette's a bad coach. I don't believe he's the right coach for this team. Do you buy that in any way?
I don't really. Every coach wants to play fast. I think people, quite frankly, I think people think this team is way slower than it is. Like I had somebody yelling at me about how slow Steven Stamkos is the other day. And then you go to the actual numbers and you look at NHL Edge and they list out like skating speed and who has the top burst in the National Hockey League this year? Steven Stamkos.
Really?
Not Connor McDavid, not Nathan McKinnon, Steven Stamkos.
That surprises me.
No, look, nobody is confusing Steven Stamkos with McDavid and McKinnon skating, right? Like McKinnon, like they measure 20-mile-an-hour bursts, and McKinnon leads it by a mile because that's what he does all the time. Stamkos has got to burst up to 24 miles an hour. I'm just saying. So, like, the idea that he can't get up to speed is just not accurate. Like, the numbers don't say that. I've said this before, too. Like, you don't have to be the fastest team in the league to be good. You have to play fast, and that involves making good decisions with the puck. And that's what Andrew Burnett wants. Like, when you're playing, he said it on our show last week, like, when you're playing the way that they need to play 5-on-5, it doesn't necessarily have to translate into great foot speed. You're making quick decisions with the puck. You're moving the puck up the ice. And regardless of how fast the player is, you can always move the puck quicker than you could skate. So I think people overblow that a little bit. I don't think the Predators are like some massively slow team out there. They're not the fastest team, other than New Jersey, where they just got caught flat-footed a couple times through the neutral zone, which again was mostly due to not taking care of the puck than it was just your actual foot speed. Like I don't look at the Predators getting like skating circles every night with other teams' speed.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about the being connected, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you look faster.
Correct.
Right? And that's clearly not happening. Is there an old dog's new tricks element to this?
Maybe. Yeah. There could be some of that. Look, Andrew Burnett's done a bad job this year. I mean, they've won 7 of 25 games. I've said it. I think Andrew Burnett's a good coach. I would not fire him. But there's no doubt he's not done a good job this year. They've won 7 out of 25 games. So you have to put that on coaching to some degree, right? Like there's blame to go around. Like, Tommy Novak hadn't scored a goal since October 22nd. I memean, the idea that he was ever going to be your second line center to me was always laughable, and we're seeing that play out. Center ice is a big weakness for this team right now. Their center depth is not good, and even a guy like O'Reilly, who was good last year, has not been as good so far this year.
Which is the history of the franchise, by the way.
Exactly. So they have until proven otherwise, like they have an organizational flaw of finding and developing top-level centermen. Like they just have not done it. So until proven otherwise, that's what they are. There's plenty of blame to go around. But, I look at the coach, and I look at what Barry Trotz has said. Like, Barry Trotz doesn't seem like he's got much of an appetite towards moving on from the coach, and I understand that. I do wonder, though, like, if it continues this way, like, do you reach a point where you have no choice? Because we see that all the time in the league. Like, Boston, go look at Jim Montgomery. Go look at how many games he's won the last 3 years. It's the most in the league, and they moved on from him almost immediately this year. Like, we see this happen in this league all the time.
And for sure. But that's also that's a team, long tenure, a team that, it's been incredible what they've been able to do, right? With that core, and then they completely but you rise and you finally are, it's kind of, okay, time for a new voice, right? I mean, it may be happening in Pittsburgh too, right? I mean, it's a young, promising coach who, again, last year is being celebrated around the league, and now it's the start, a terrible start without question. But I mean, to me, it's a little bit more like, man, it's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater kind of discussion with him. I understand what you're saying. Sometimes, and especially in the NHL, it's just, you have to do it. If you did, though, this team with what we're seeing from individual players, so you're bringing somebody in, just something, a totally new system this year, and
I don't know.
I mean, it could work. Look, we've seen it work. It has,
for whatever reason, it does work. Like,
yeah.
It's not a debatable. Like, it works.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I can't explain it to you, but the numbers are what they are. Like, when you fire your coach in the NHL, you get a bump. I don't know why. Now, it doesn't always last a long time, but you get a bump. I don't know what goes into that and why that's the case.
These players all hate all the coaches.
I don't know.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. But, and look, again, I'm not advocating that the Predators fire Andrew Burnett. I think Andrew Burnett's a good coach. But what I'm asking is, like, does it get to a point, if this continues, where you just don't have a choice if you're Barry Trotz? And I don't know what the answer to that is.
Based on how he's talked about it, and based on what I believe too, I think we're still quite a ways from that. I think
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Preds coming up next. We'll get to you on our phone line, on our text lines as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, our game. 6-3 the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 the game. Taking your thoughts on the Preds, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Let's go back to our 1025 the game phone line. Welcome in Steven to the program. Steven, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, fellas. I think the biggest issue with the Preds is really expectations. When you sit back and look at it, when Trotz took over the team, he came out and told the fan base, this is going to be a slow rebuild. We need to have patience. We need to take time. And then they caught fire for a couple of weeks. And those 3 weeks of games changed everybody's mind into thinking this team was a contender. And they're not. They're still sitting on $11 million worth of wasted cap that they have to do the Johansson and Turris and Duchesne buyouts. Well, if you want to talk about a second line center, $11 million probably gets you a hell of a lot closer than having to eat that money. You want to talk about contributors to this team, there's 5 consecutive first-round picks that are no longer on this team. You've got Askarov, you've got Ellie Tolvanen, you got Tomasino, you got Fabro. Those guys should have been a core contributing founder members of this team that are helping get this team to where they need to go. They're not. This team wasn't ready to compete, and they went out and got aging veterans, stripped the names off the back of the jerseys, probably should not have been added to this club at this time. So that's where I think the biggest issue is expectation. We need to go back to where we were in the summer Trotz got the job and not last year. Last year was an
the problem is you can't go back to that when you sign Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea. Like, the expectations change when you do that.
Oh, well, I mean, they can be unrealized, unfounded expectations, but I think
it's not unrealized. Those guys scored 40 goals last year, and they came out and Barry Trotz said that they were a threat. Like, this is not some fan creation of the expectations. This is what the organization has done.
And I'm including the organization in who should have had better, more founded expectations.
Thanks for the call, Steven. Appreciate it.
There's definitely, for the first time, maybe, to me, there's definitely a little bit of, hey, Barry Trotz.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Right? A little bit of that. And look, everybody at this point is fairly under scrutiny.
Yeah, no doubt. Everybody's fairly under scrutiny. Like, look, it's hard for me to sit here and get on Trotz about going to sign Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea when the day they did it, I think along with everybody else, was, wow, look at that. That's awesome.
I think we had a parade that day, right?
Yeah,
it was like the opposite of the day the Vols hired Josh Heupel.
Exactly. Exactly. So, look, it's not going well so far. So, we mentioned it earlier that they're going to be here. So you got to figure out how to get through that with them and figure it out. So it's hard for me to get on Trotz on that based on like my reaction to it at the time. I will say, like, Fabro going elsewhere and playing pretty well for Columbus, and then Tomasino going elsewhere, playing pretty well out of the gate for Pittsburgh. Like, it does make you wonder, all right, like, you couldn't find a spot for those guys at all. Like, you do need some young players coming in here and helping out, and those guys couldn't be a part of it at all. Like, I think that's fair criticism that, we've gotten a lot of that already on the text line today of, have you seen Tomasino? He's playing pretty well in Pittsburgh. Have you seen Fabro? He's playing pretty well in Columbus. Everybody's going to bring up Tolvanen. That was a Poyle decision, so I'm not putting that on Trotz. Trotz wasn't here for that. So,
well, now these picks that were just discussed were very fair. I mean, he's absolutely right. That should be a core.
No doubt.
And they're gone.
Doubt.
Those are Poyle picks.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, the thing is with Trotz and drafting, we're not going to know for a little while, right? Like, when's Matthew Wood going to be an NHL player? I have no idea. And Molendijk's a part of that too, but I'm more interested in the forwards. Like, Molendijk, I'm pretty sure going to be a good player, and it's great. Like, you're allowed to draft great defensemen. That's fine.
Need those.
But I'm worried about forward. Like, can you find, draft, develop, trade for, whatever it is, forwards that turn out to be, in some cases, elite, and in other cases, really good? Because there's too many guys and too many forwards in the history of this organization that are just guys, that are just run-of-the-mill NHL guys. And they've had good success with that. They've not had great success with that. And that's what the next step is you're looking to make some deep runs here.
Well, and on that front, it is going to be, to me, a question of, do you really need to get into the guts of your entire process or process?
Yes.
Since we were talking about hockey. If like these early draft picks from Trotz and the forward front aren't working out, like, at some point it's like, okay, clearly there's something that you guys consistently don't do when it comes to forwards that you have been able to do with goalies and defensemen.
But to his point about expectation, like, it's too late for that. Like, you can't put that back in the bottle after you go out and do what you've done this offseason. I mean, like it or not, the expectations were what they were, and I think fairly so heading into the year.
Again, to defend Trotz, and it's not it's not like I'm bending over backwards to do it. But one, we both love the moves. I mean, especially Stamkos. But I thought Brady Shea was a great pickup, and he boggles my mind, But again, you have the goalie, you committed to the goalie. You got the defenseman, you got, the forward, probably the best forward you've ever had. I consider him homegrown, even though he was traded. You have those three guys, and it's kind of like, are you going to try to? Is that enough to then you build around them and you can do something, or
Right.
because that they were already pre-locked in when you got here?
Well, but I mean, one thing we talked about when they signed Stamkos and Marchessault, even with the expectations being what they were, what did we say? All right, what about the centerman? Right? Like that's something that hasn't really changed around here. How do you find the centerman? And that's all. It's still. How do you find that elite centerman? That's still a big problem that they got to figure out at some point. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Bob to the program. Bob, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, guys. I have a question I want to ask you guys. The past, off and on the past 4 or 5 years, comments have slipped out from players about, lack of effort, et cetera. Stamkos' comments recently were the latest example of those. Do you think that there are any issues along that regard, effort-wise and things like that? And my other question is, do you think they're going to make any sort of a move regarding Parsonen?
Yep, thanks for the call, Bob. Parsonen, I don't know. I mean, he's it's different because he's not a first-round pick. He's actually a seventh-round pick. But he was in a similar situation in my mind, Joe, as Tomasino heading into this year. Like, it's put up or shut up. It has not been great from him so far. So do I think right now he's a part of the long-term future here? No, I don't. But are they going to trade him this year? I guess is the question. I have no idea. Like I'd probably be surprised if that was the case at this point. As far as the effort part of this, I don't know that it's effort. I just think that they're lost. I think they look totally lost to me out there. And I think that's probably more concerning than effort. Like effort, you get you a kick in the butt and you go. I think they're scrambling for answers. And that to me is a more concerning place to be. Like I'd love to know what Stamkos' thoughts were on the offense. Maybe he'll divulge those at some point. But the vibe that I kind of get around everybody right now is like they're shell-shocked. They've won 7 games in 25 games. They're a little shell-shocked about it, and they're grasping at straws for answers that they don't have.
Yeah, and that's just not probably like desperation is good in some ways, but this becomes a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it snowballs on you, right? When you start searching for answers, and then you have the negativity, and then you have people questioning this or that, and in the meantime, you're not growing as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that Stamkos' his thoughts were more about system or about individuals?
I don't know. I don't. When he said it, my initial reaction to it was, okay, is he about to call out the coach? Like that was the first thing that went through my mind. And then when he started to answer it again, he talked about generating. And I was like, okay, well, it kind of sounds like he's calling out the players. I mean, he talked about how you got to find seams and you got to get open and all these other things. Like it sounded like he was calling out some of the players there. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. It was very interesting. I know that.
When he set the speed record, was that to get to that presser to bitch about everybody?
I don't know. 24 miles an hour from me, man. Moving.
I need to talk to Robby Stanley right now.
Gotta get off the ice. Let's go talk to the media. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
You guys are killing it this morning, dude. Here's the thing, man. Number one, I love hockey for this reason. If you sign a dude for 4 years and $30 million, you better hope you like him. Yep. And the NFL, you could cut him 2 weeks into that contract. So I guess that's my question this morning is, what do you do? If you don't fire a coach, what do you do? Because you're stuck with the players, man. I see the people on my Predators fan page that are like, the Stamkos experiment's over, get rid of him. I'm like, you can't. Like, that's what makes hockey awesome is that you're going to have to figure something out because these dudes are stuck with you. That's what makes hockey killer, in my opinion. Like, the Preds and Titans are in very similar situations in the fact that They both spend a lot of money and are not living up to what we want them to do.
Yeah.
But the Preds have to figure a different way out of it, and that's what I like about it.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Adam. And what he just said there, Joe, is exactly why hockey coaches get fired more than anybody else, because it's a lot easier to fire one coach than move all the chairs on the deck around with the players.
Yeah, guaranteed contracts. So at some point, and that like if the Preds, if they get to the point this year where it really doesn't change and it's clear, like in whatever February or something, they're not making the playoffs, then I would expect him to get fired because like that is the only thing you can do.
Yep. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Dylan to the program. Dylan, thanks for calling in.
Hey guys. So I was kind of going to piggyback a little bit off of like what Steven was saying about, the young players, expectations changing. Like, I just don't understand, like, why can't we develop young forwards? And, originally, I was on board with the rebuild when, Trots was trading away all our players and, getting assets. And then, we had last year and the year before that. So, like, what does he really want our vision to be? Like, I understand, like, we want to try to win now. We want to be competitive. But, now when you're in this boat that you're in right now, like, what does it do now?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just want to get your thoughts on kind of like, what do we feel like the future of this franchise really is? Like, are we going to try to win now? Or are we going to try to build?
Yep. Thanks for calling, Dylan. Appreciate it. I mean, one thing that Barry Trotz has made pretty clear from the moment he got here, he has no interest in tanking, right? Like, I think that's been
he's gone
pretty clear.
Complete
He's
other
gone
way.
the other way. Is that the right move?
Doesn't look great now.
Doesn't look good right now. I don't know. Is that ultimately the right move? I guess we'll see. I mean, look, I think what he's trying to do is pretty clear. Like, he's trying to thread the needle of they do have some young guys coming up that I think they're pretty excited about. Most of those guys are not quite ready yet to play in the NHL. Hopefully they will be here in the next year or two. And I think in the meantime, you sign Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea to add firepower to this group that overachieved last year and give yourself a shot in the playoffs. That's the plan. It's just not going so well at the moment.
Yeah. And look, we talked about the pain too when all these signings happen with the deal at the back end of the deal. So that still exists as a future for the Preds. So
we'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Glorious. Victorious. It's so stupid. It's a terrible song.
It is time for the Rex Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We're going to continue with this. So I'm going to make this brief. I just want to highlight a couple comments just because April in Portland mentioning Brady Shea mentioned that he's been dog water, which brings me to something that happened on Thanksgiving. I'm going to shout out, I guess, cousin or second cousin, young Cooper Matwejic. We were watching football Thanksgiving, and we do what do? We have Trash Cheeks dog water, right?
Correct.
We're talking about like fantasy football. And he's like, Tyreek Hill has just been buns this year. I'm like, add it to the lexicon.
Buns.
Buns.
That might be my favorite.
I know. Where does buns end up on the scale? I was dying, man. I was dying.
Have the Preds been buns this year?
I think the Preds have been buns. Okay.
That could be the greatest thing I've ever heard.
That's beautiful. And also, I this one made me laugh too. I think at the end of an hour of talking about this horrific team, we need to have some laughs. Justin from Greenbrier, sorry, not Greenbrier.
Yeah.
Greenbrier says, people act like the Preds added Grandpa, Pop, and a crazy cat lady. These players are still able to produce. We're all excited about the team. And on and on. Also, sorry that happened to you, or congratulations. Not reading all that. But he says they're hard to watch as they play sporadically instead of consistently. So they're buns, okay? Let's just sum it up.
It's beautiful.
Shout out Cooper.
Oh, man.
Buns.
One texter, going back into the argument that we've had for years here on the program, we talked about the plan of what Barry Trotz is trying to do. It's not working out right now, and people wanting to tank. One texter pointing out, if you want to win a cup, you better be bad. Saying that, Pittsburgh, Washington, Colorado, Chicago, Florida, Tampa, they all win cups. No, being bad does not guarantee you win a cup, but not being bad all but guarantees that you won't win one.
Oh, really?
Well, Vegas wasn't bad. They won. Now, their expansion team, it's a different thing, but they won a Stanley Cup. St. Louis was not bad. They didn't end up one of those top picks, and they won a cup. I mean, Carolina, I'm trying to think of when they drafted Jordan Stahl or Eric Stahl back in the day, but they won a cup right after the lockout. I mean, Boston in 11, they weren't that bad, and they won a cup. I mean, it can happen.
Yeah.
Now,
and it can go, and you can be the Red Wings, or you can be the Ducks, or
Sabres.
You can be the Buffalo Sabres also if you try that.
Right.
So,
now, look, no doubt it does
can
happen.
work.
It can work. It works
can
a lot.
work.
Like Crosby, pretty good find for the Penguins. McKinnon, pretty good find for Colorado. There's no doubt. Like if you're bad, and particularly if you're bad at the right time, like if you're bad when Nathan McKinnon's available, then that certainly helps. There's no doubt about that.
Chicago coming back soon? They're gonna.
It's not going well for them right now.
Chicago, Nashville battle to be the worst team in the NHL right
now. Those are the two worst teams in the league.
How about that?
It's not good. Yeah, I mean, it's 2000. Where are we at? 2024. So we're now right at 20 years since the lockout, where kind of the modern wave of the NHL started to come in. So yes, you can find examples of both. There's no doubt. If you're bad at the right time, you draft the right people, that accelerates your path towards winning a Stanley Cup. Having said that, I mean, look, we'll see if they do it this year. They've been in contention the last couple years. Edmonton has not won one with McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, it's a hard thing to do. It's a really hard needle to thread. And right now, the Preds don't look like they're anywhere close to it, right? They look like they're going the other way. Does that change at some point this year? I mean, you brought it up. 8 points is not some insurmountable deficit that they've got coming down the stretch here. It's just unbelievably disappointing that they've looked the way that they've looked to this point. Like they look like a bad hockey team. And the question is that going to change at any point this year?
Yeah, and that's we got a long time here of just waiting to see if they figure it out. To me.
Yeah. Got one texter that says, "Did you notice how the players are starting to ad lib plays outside of the system? The Svechkov goal definitely not part of Bruno's system." Like, what does that mean? Like Yossi making a play at the blue line and passing the puck to Evangelista, who passes it back to Svechkov. That's not a part of a system.
Do you guys think this is like Stratomatic hockey or something? Like the little the
some
table hockey?
Some of the conversations around this, like the system part of this, just make no sense whatsoever.
System is very overrated.
Yeah. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll take more of your thoughts on this. We'll get back into the Preds throughout the show today. We'll get back into the Titans coming up next as well. More thoughts from Brian Callahan's press conference yesterday and Will Levis as well to get to on the text line. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A lot of people weighing in on our Predator State of the Union. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll get back in the Preds before the show's over.
Good conversation.
615-737-1025. We're live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Joseph, breaking news in the NFL. Former Titan and current Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair suspended 3 games for his hit on Trevor Lawrence on Sunday, which has been a massive talking point around the league over the last couple of days. He hit Trevor Lawrence as he was sliding in the head, knocked Trevor Lawrence out of the game. A fight broke out in the game after that, after the hit. He got ejected from the game, has now been suspended 3 games by the National Football League. Your reaction to this news in the NFL?
It's excessive. It's a bad play. It was a bad play. I can buy a game, and I don't blame. Good for the Jags, showing some spirit there, getting after him and all that. But three games for that? Man, I got a problem with that. Appeal it.
It's going to be appealed.
Be a game.
It'll be appealed. But barring a successful appeal, he'll be eligible to return in Week 17.
Like I was telling you during the break, go to last night in Denver. Jameis Winston getting sacked and a second, and I forget who, but came in and absolutely helmet to helmet blasted him. His helmet comes off. He's screaming at the ref, pointing at his head. No, it's fine. Everything's fine. I mean, it wasn't like there's a play that didn't even get flagged. And again, I agree. This was a bad play by Azeez Al-Shaair. He's starting to slide. Sometimes it's hard when a guy's starting to slide and you're coming in, but you have to see a quarterback start to slide, and you have to try better than that to get out of the way. And he hit him high. It was a bad play.
How about this from John Runyon, who is the NFL Vice President of Football Operations? Apparently, this was in his letter to Azeez Al-Shaair on the suspension. Quote, "Your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and all those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL." That's what John Runyon said in his letter to Azeez Al-Shaair.
Calm down, John. The thing that it's interesting
the
too.
Lack of respect for the game of football and all who play, coach, and watch.
Your hatred for this country and its game and the human race. Really troubling. I mean, calm down. Azeez Al-Shaair, too. Obviously he was here for a year. I mean, he's. It
was a stupid hit.
It's a stupid hit. It's not like he's Vontaze Burfict out here. I mean, I don't think that's who he is as a player. But regardless, bad play. Should be suspended a game. I'm fine with that. Matthew Nashville says he's a repeat offender. So I'm not doubting you. I don't remember. Did he do something?
He's gotten. I think he's gotten in there. I think he's thrown a punch before. It's
okay.
Nobody's going to confuse him for the cleanest player in the world. It was a dirty play. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I would have been fine with a game. I'm really interested to see when he appeals it. Does this get drawn down a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Dylan says he's known for being a dirty player. That's it. I mean, I don't remember that being the big narrative around him coming in here or when he was here. It was just 1 year. And before that, he was, basically he was a good third linebacker with San Francisco. So yeah. I don't think he's a consistently dirty player. That was a bad play. We can all agree.
That
bad
comment
play
from John Runyon is quite something. Your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and all those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL.
Dear Lord, deliver us from Azeez Al-Shaair. Okay, calm down.
I wonder how does this, this is from Tom Pelissero. Ian Rappaport put that quote out there too. How do they access this letter? Is this letter public to Azeez Al-Shaair? I don't know.
Someone wanted that to be read. Someone wanted it out there. Yeah.
Good gracious. Well, bad news for the Titans, though. He'll be back by the time the Titans game rolls around, Week 18. So Will Levis.
They beat him when he was on the field.
Make sure you get down, I guess. Yeah. Dive head first You know, Rex
maybe
Ryan.
you shouldn't slide. Maybe
Well,
this is the game you don't slide.
Rex Ryan was talking about that yesterday on ESPN. He was like, quarterbacks, you got to learn like when to slide and when not to. And he was basically, he also talked about like, if you want to get down, then just like fall down forward. Like, don't leave yourself in a position where you're sliding with your feet and your head is exposed as you're coming down that way, was kind of his point. It's like, well,
I mean, but everybody
there's
else
plenty of
always talks about
examples of-
sliding.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, this is the same guy that coached the butt fumble. So,
I mean, the same, you know, the thing is those slides do get they get you 15s a lot, right?
They do.
And plays like that, they just don't get you hurt like that.
yeah,
I mean, typically a slide is a safe way to do it.
typically.
Yeah. But thanks, Rex.
Thank you, Rex. Appreciate it.
Preds fan, I'd like to get Rex's thoughts on the
Well,
Preds.
I bet he has some thoughts.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. Trevor posting some screenshots of Aziz Al-Shaair. That's the punch I was talking about, I guess, earlier this year in the Chicago game. So he did have that. I don't know what this second screenshot is from. It looks like the Zapruder film on the side. So I guess that's Tony Pollard out of bounds. So yeah, I mean, he's had some late hits. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Is it like, you know, you brought up Vontez Perfect? Like, it's a little bit different out there.
Yeah, I mean,
like it doesn't quite
I
give
mean, like
those
that guy
vibes.
was clearly dirty. What's his name from Bill Romanowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That guy was dirty as hell. I mean, like he's not one of those guys. And of course, that was also different. Like Bill Romanowski in today's NFL, he'd probably last about 3 games. He'd probably last 3 games, and then he'd be just suspended the rest of his career. But I don't know. It was bad play. I hear people like if they do believe he's a dirty player, and I haven't watched every play of his career, then you know this is like the Draymond Green kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
you get ultimately you get a reputation, and that's gonna just keep adding to it.
I will say after the hit, when I saw Lawrence take that hit, I was a little worried about Stroud after that. I was like, is somebody on Jacksonville about to just do something reckless with Stroud? Because we've seen that before. Like, oh, you take our quarterback out? Guess what, buddy? I got one coming for your quarterback. Did not escalate into that on Sunday.
Which is good.
Yeah, it was. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get back into the Titans coming up next. Aziz Al-Shaair suspended 3 games by the National Football League. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We got all kinds of things that just keep happening during the break that get me derailed from where we probably need to go. But I do want to get Joe's thoughts on air to this one. Apparently, they're discussing this in Major League Baseball real quickly. Rob Manfred talking about, buzz around the owners' meetings.
Buzz. How buzzed are you?
About adding a rule called the golden at-bat rule in Major League Baseball, where a team could choose one at-bat in every game to use its best hitter, regardless of where they're at in the lineup. The golden at-bat rule. Joe, your thoughts?
You freaking idiots. It's play baseball. You freaking idiots. Why couldn't this have happened before the rant? I'll take a golden shower on your golden at-bat, okay?
Why are you poo-pooing on this?
You like this idea?
I'm not completely opposed. I was talking about this yesterday with Sean Henry. I don't think it's a terrible idea.
And he liked it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's just go around. How about we have a wiffle ball at-bat, too? Yay! Let's play Ring Around the Rosie. Pocket full of posies. Complete idiocy.
It's buns.
Golden at-bat. Yeah, it is buns. We're talking about Titans, right?
Yeah.
We're switching from one bun to the other.
It's true.
No, this is absolutely you can't. I'm mad at you and Sean Henry now, Nick. I'd like you to know. Like, this is so dumb.
Why are you opposed to having fun? This is so different.
Play baseball.
It is baseball.
No, it's not.
Oh, I'm all-time quarterback. I get the all-time cleanup hitter. What?
The sport doesn't change. It just adds a new element.
Golden at-bat?
I'm not completely opposed. It's not like a crazy awesome idea, but I'm not completely opposed to it.
That's good to know.
Are you
Nick.
trying to make me more angry?
Maybe.
Yeah. It's just so like no one who covers, actually loves, plays, coaches. No one involved in baseball in any way can think this is anything but stupid.
Just think about it.
Right?
I mean, they could be. You could just get Shohei anytime you want. Shohei Ohtani in the middle of the game.
Shohei is going to bat right now. It's our golden at bat. Okay, I'm done watching the sport if that happens. Okay,
not too far from now though. That suggests like you get to use one per game. That out doesn't count. It's like, oh, he got out, doesn't count. Wipe it off the board. Back to no outs, baby.
God, I got a ghost runner at second.
Kevin in Nashville says this is so stupid. It's like NBA Jam kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's add an 8-point shot if Steph stands right by half court. Okay.
Hey, he didn't say that they were going to do it in Major League Baseball.
There's
He
a lot
said
of
it's
buzz.
generating buzz.
Generating buzz. So, like, 3 idiots in the front office are, like, coked up? Like, what kind of buzz are we talking about?
Rexrode, not a fan of the golden at bat rule.
I mean, this. Please, anybody out there who loves baseball, like, please tell me you don't. I'm so disappointed in Sean Henry.
Brian Callahan addressing the comments from Jeffrey Simmons after the game on Sunday about the hangover, for lack of a better term, that the Titans had from the Houston game last week, the win, scored over 30 points, and then you come out and basically 15 minutes into the game, it's over on Sunday between the Titans and the Commanders. You're down 28-0. Simmons talking after the game about how some guys hung over from the Houston win and how that just came out. They did not handle success the right way against Washington. Nick, do we have that clip on Callahan, or I can give you a minute to pull that up? But I did kind of just put Keezer on the spot there. It's my bad.
He likes the golden at bat. I say we keep putting him on the spot the rest of the program. Keezer, I need some audio from Jeff Fisher, 2007, please.
Yes, Jared.
I don't know who that is.
It's true. Do we have it ready? Oh, okay. I thought he was ready at that point. Anyway, so the Simmons post-game comments. First off, Kuharski on a warpath yesterday at the press conference. He asked about that. He asked about the Jarvis Brownlee cold weather thing, which we talked about earlier. Jarvis Brownlee, not a fan of playing in the cold on Sunday at Washington in 40 degrees. So that's something to monitor as they move forward. Said, hey, look, guys, nobody else probably going to say this. I will. The cold, big problem that we're dealing with today.
If the Titans ever get really mad at Jarvis, they should try to trade him to Buffalo and just see what happens. He'll go out there in a full snowsuit.
What was the kid's name in Christmas Story? Couldn't put his arms down.
Little
Is it
brother
Randy?
Ralphie, right? Was it
No,
Ralphie?
Was the older brother. Was it Randy, the younger one? Randy couldn't put his arms down to his side.
Yeah, there you go.
It's Jarvis Brownlee playing in the snow out there.
Another
Buffalo.
PI.
It's like, Jarvis, get your hand technique better, man.
Yeah. You can't hand fight when your hands are out here.
The more I think about those comments, the more unbelievable they are. It's 40 degrees and sunny, and we're talking about cold weather.
Listen,
in December, by the way.
This is the story no one's talking about, but the cold really affected us today. It was somewhat seasonably cool.
I had long sleeves on, and I don't like playing football in long sleeves.
Look, I'm just going to tell you the truth, okay? The seas were rough, my friends.
If that doesn't sum up this Titan season, 3-9, you get your butts kicked by Washington, and you got a player in the locker room saying, "Look, guys, it's cold out there. Let me tell you, it's cold weather."
It was a little too cloudy. I didn't really like the aesthetic in the sky. Just kind of threw off my game.
My goodness, just great stuff. Bottom line is, you take a look at the way that all shook out for the Titans. And one of the things that we brought up yesterday, and Kuharski is a believer in this, I'd be interested to get your thoughts. You feel like you're making progress. You feel like you've gotten to a place over the last 3 weeks here where maybe some of the things that you started to do a whole lot better the previous 2 weeks against LA and Minnesota paid off for you against Houston, and you're starting to build. And Brian Callahan talked about that after the game Sunday. And then for you to just come out with a total dud against Washington, does it remove the progress you thought that they had before that? Does it taint what they did before that in the Houston game in your mind?
Taint, huh? Speaking of buns.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Just physically unable to speak. What have you done?
I don't know what else to say about the Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry.
Rexrode is crying. As is everybody who's forced to watch this team play
This is when someone finally mentally breaks down having to watch this football team. This is the breaking point. Everybody, I'm sorry. Well, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Look, they have played better, right? They have played better, and then they played terribly last game.
Yeah.
They're a bad team, okay? I think they'll probably come out and have a good chance to beat Jacksonville this week, which doesn't really serve their interests anymore, because the playoff run that I brought up as a real possibility last week has gone the way of, the text line's really enjoying this right now. But it was a very disappointing performance. We can all agree.
We gotta go to break.
Let's just start over,
regroup
okay?
here. Let's gather ourselves.
Let's have a lot of commercials.
I'm trying to. Well, then ask the question. No, I'm just saying, like, you look ridiculous.
We'll have the Brian Callahan comments for you coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode for now. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in.
Hey!
Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Just some good sports talk going on.
Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Tuesday morning. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. We have that clip from Brian Callahan discussing Jeffrey Simmons and his comments after the game on Sunday. Brian Callahan asked about that yesterday at his Monday press conference. Here's what the Titans head coach had to say.
Jeff wasn't the only guy that has such a level of success that guys have trouble dealing with coming out of it.
No, not at all. I mean, no. We, as I even said last week, is that it's one win. We haven't arrived. We haven't done anything that would require us to have to worry about that. And all we're trying to do is stack good weeks together. And I thought we were on a good trajectory, a big win on the road, and to come out and play the game the way we did was just disappointing. To go down in that game early and not be able to come back. And there's no part about anything that I feel or our team should feel is that we should have an issue dealing with that. And again, that's after the game and in the heat of the moment. But yeah, we shouldn't have had any issue.
So that's Brian Callahan. He talked about how he did not detect any sort of feeling like the Titans had arrived or anything like that after the Houston win throughout the week of practice last week. Jeffrey Simmons talking about how they did not handle success well. Callahan, talked about yesterday, his message to the team pretty much constantly is you're either dealing with adversity or you're dealing with prosperity, and you got to find a way to deal with either one. They can both be equally as challenging. What did you make of Callahan's response to that question and his reaction to what Jeffrey Simmons had to say after the game on Sunday?
Before I get to that, I just want to shout out our listeners on the text line. They've had incredible music suggestions today.
True.
One that said we should have just played Tainted Love coming back.
Yes.
Earlier, we should have played Oh Baby It's Cold Outside,
Yes.
which the text line, let me give it up.
You're on your A game today.
Hell yes,
We appreciate it.
And somebody's complaining that we're like, when do the adults show up? Like, you've been listening to the show waiting for adults to show up?
Going a long run here.
You're the issue. You're the problem. Yeah, look, I think with Callahan, I think that's a good way to put it. Basically, like you have to prepare every week. You got to be consistent. You got to be professional. We've talked earlier in the show about how there aren't that many guys in this team that have been part of winning, which is true, and that's a fair point. There aren't. We went through it, right? It's like Simmons, who were here when they were good. Simmons, NWI,
Hooker,
Radens, yeah. Amani Hooker. Yeah, we didn't mention him. He's a good one. But again, it's like, to me, this whole thing is a team gets its butt kicked. The one thing a team will never say after a game like that is, man, Commanders are really good. They just kicked our butt. Like, they were blocking me. I couldn't make a play because my guy was beating me in my matchup. He's just better than me. Like, no one ever says that, right? It's always, we hurt ourselves. It was our issue. Now sometimes the other team is better than you, and Washington is flat out better than Tennessee. And then they're desperate too, by the way. How many, they lost 3 straight? 2 or 3 straight?
3 straight.
They had just lost at home to Dallas in a game they were supposed to win big, and they kicked your butt. And then you started making mistakes, and you came out, false start. So, you came out with a bad mindset. Was that handling success, cold weather? No, the other team's better than you and kicked your butt. No one will ever say that. So I think with Callahan, it's like you're already dealing with, oh, wow, I thought we were getting better, and look at this performance. And again, he's part of the performance, so I'm not separating him from it. But then it's like, oh, and now here, let's get some questions about these dumb comments after the game, which really, to me, don't amount to a hill of beans.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Chad to the program. Chad, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good stuff, fellas. I just got 2 quick things this morning. First, a question. What do you think the ultimate answer is for the Titans at quarterback? I know that's the $1 million question. I mean, if you're looking at Sam Darnold potentially opens up, Daniel Jones, does either of those guys do anything for you moving forward? And then the B part of the question, I was listening to Truman Capote last night. Jared Stevens, and he was saying that Rexrode needed to go on record and say the Titans have to have to fire their special teams coach, or otherwise you may have a zero football IQ. Your thoughts?
Thank you for the call, Chad. Appreciate it.
You want to address the QB thing?
To answer the first part, well, look, what's going to happen with Sam Darnold? Like, is Sam Darnold going to make it to free agency? Is he going to be tagged by Minnesota and they run it back with him again next year and give J.J. McCarthy another year on the bench to sit there and learn?
And Daniel Jones is in the mix there too.
Well, Daniel Jones is in the mix there too right now. Is Darnold going to be their long-term answer with how well he's played this year and they're moving on from McCarthy? Like, what happens with Darnold? Because to answer his question, like, if Darnold is available, then yeah, I'd probably look into that if I were the Titans. Now, I'm still not convinced that Sam Darnold is like some elite quarterback or anything, but I would certainly, like, he is certainly way better than he was with the Jets and Panthers. He's clearly improved. Question is how much.
Yeah. And also sometimes these things get, they get a little bit, you get into a vacuum a little bit. Is Sam Darnold going to choose the Titans?
Probably not.
I have my doubts. What team might be interested where he could look at it and say, okay, that's a decent roster. I could win there. Well, maybe Cleveland.
Yeah. The Jets. You can go back home.
Maybe he go back.
Imagine he would not have much interest.
Probably not. Maybe the Raiders. Yeah, I don't know. There's other teams that probably are more attractive because the Titans right now just don't look like, they don't have a good team.
Right.
They have a bad team. So, but yeah, I think we talked earlier about Jameis. And Jameis on a 1-year $4 million with Cleveland. Separate the personal need for entertainment at a few hours after he just said, I hope the Lord can deliver me from pick sixes.
Yeah.
The greatest quote of all time. Beyond that, like last night, yeah, the picks were bad. And I don't know if that ever ends with him. My God, he's talented.
He threw
still.
500 yards.
Yeah,
4 touchdowns.
Again, it's like if you could get the picks out of there, right, sure, then he'd be a top QB in the league, and that's why he isn't. I get it, but I think there are worse situations than like a Winston Levis deal if you aren't going to get your next quarterback in the draft.
Well, the answer is, like, if you're talking long-term answer at quarterback, then that person's probably not on the roster. Like, if you don't believe it's Will Levis, then that person is probably, and I mean, not on the roster is not what I should have said, not in the league to this point. Like, they're probably coming in the draft either this year or the year after that if you're the Titans. So it's hard for me to answer what you do long-term at quarterback without knowing specifically who we're talking about in the draft after that. So if you don't believe it's Levis, how do you feel about this year's crop of quarterbacks? And if you don't feel great about it, are you willing to put Will Levis out there for another year, see what he's got, have an open mind to what it could be? And then if it doesn't work, you turn your attention to 2026 and drafting the quarterback then.
Yeah, and do the double drafting of Nico and Arch and let them compete.
Let them battle it out.
Yeah. Somehow get the top 2 picks and draft those 2. I mean, I don't right now. I don't know that Nico's on a trajectory to be.
May not.
But
I don't know that Arch is either.
He may. We'll see. Well, that's true. Arch is a hell of a receiver. He might be a receiver in the NFL. That's what his dad was. His dad was a receiver at Ole Miss. I mean, he was. Guy runs a 4.3.
I don't know what to do with like a Manning playing quarterback that can get out of the pocket and like dust people.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I know they're throwing him in there just for like little wildcat stuff. I'm like, this is a Manning? He can take it. As for the other thing, the Colt Anderson, I'm not sure who you're referring to there, but the Colt Anderson thing, again, I don't have a problem with the Titans. I'm as I've made clear many times, I don't think in-season assistant coach firings make sense unless it's like something egregious, like this guy is a cancer in the building. But I have a problem with it at this point. To me, if you're gonna react to something where it's like incompetence does not stand here with the Tennessee Titans, then you do it after the Detroit game.
I would agree.
That's like, and when you didn't, then to me it was like, okay, so you're just waiting to the end of the year. I mean, Colt Anderson should not be the Titans special teams coach next year. I think most people would agree. I don't think he will be. I don't have a problem with them at this point firing him. I guess I just wouldn't expect it until the end of the year. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Like I said yesterday, it was time for Brian Callahan to show that he's got a standard. And I believe that. Like I think he should be out of here. I think at some point enough's enough, and I'm with you. Like I would have done it after the Detroit game because that was just an incredible level of incompetence displayed that day. They didn't do it that day, so you're right. Like if they didn't do it then, the chances of them doing it this past Sunday or this yesterday after the Washington game were never going to be high. But again, it's just week after week after week of the same stuff. And at some point, enough's got to be enough. At this, I mean, we're on December the 3rd now, so they have a month left in the season. So they're clearly not going to do it until the season's over at this point. But I would be absolutely stunned if within like the first 2 or 3 days of their offseason beginning, he's not out. I'd be stunned.
Yeah. Very, very shortly after that would be something else. That'd be actually an incredible. Like it'd be an all timer if like he just comes back next year.
It would be.
It'd be interesting.
That would start to develop some concerns to me on Brian Callahan if that's the case. It's like really,
and further concerns on the whole thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it sometimes like even if Brian Callahan like deep in his heart believes that Colt Anderson is not the issue with what's going on special teams, sometimes you don't really have a choice. Like I'm sure there are plenty of coaches throughout the history of the National Football League that have fired coaches before that have looked around and said, yeah, I don't really know that you're the problem, but we're doing it anyway.
100%.
I don't really care if Brian Callahan believes that after the year. You got to do something different heading into next year.
Yeah, you don't have a year like this and then everything stays the same, right? I mean, a year like this, somebody has to pay. And when things go poorly, players certainly pay.
For sure.
Players get benched, players get cut, all that stuff too. You know, so why are coaches different? I mean, you know, things have to change. I would think beyond him.
I would think so
this year.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Final thoughts on the Titans coming up next. A lot of your thoughts earlier in the program that we greatly appreciate on the Predators as well. Our Robby and Rexrode Predator State of the Union. We'll get back into some of that coming up next as well. Speaking of the Preds, tomorrow your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. Participate with us tomorrow morning. Special time tomorrow morning. We got Kuharski coming in the 8 o'clock hour. So Preds Pick to Click will be at 6:45 tomorrow morning. So make sure you're tuned in for that. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We now go to a word from Joe Rexrode to close out the program here.
This is a jam, by the way.
It is.
Soft sell, tainted love. Hey, folks, it's Giving Tuesday. Did you know that's Giving Tuesday? I don't know if that means it's like the only Giving Tuesday or it's always Giving Tuesday. Every Tuesday is a Giving Tuesday. It's also Taco Tuesday. But first of all, Robby and I had fun last night thanks to George Plaster at a bowling event, lastminutetoystore.com and the Martha O'Brien Center benefiting.
That's correct.
Good stuff. I was happy with my bowling. Thank you. I was a little bit disappointed in my daughter. But today, I'd like to invite you. This is a friend of the show. We have been affiliated with them before, and I want to tell you about Goods for Greatness really quickly. Goods for Greatness helps actually kids. It's Tennessee based, but help kids all over the country. But nearly 5,000 kids, about 300 in this area. Bats, gloves, football gear, shoes, cleats. It is sports equipment for underserved children. It's incredibly expensive to play sports now. If you didn't know that, it's incredibly expensive. It's paid for kids sign up for leagues, high school fees, clinics, camps, gear, and large amounts to 15 mid-state high school programs. So I want to. There's a million, all kinds of great causes out there, but this is a fantastic one. You can Venmo at Goods for Greatness. That's 4, the number 4. The website is www.goodsforgreatness, again, the number 4.org/donate. There you go.
Absolutely. One thing that came out yesterday, Joe, that I do want to touch on, because we've had a couple people ask about this today. If you needed more evidence that the Pro Bowl has kind of gone off the rails here a little bit, there is one Tennessee Titan that is the leading vote getter right now for Pro Bowl votes. Have you seen this?
I have not seen this. I saw some Twittering to the effect
Let's
of
have
this
him
is
guess.
a shocker.
Let's see if you could guess. If you could guess one Titan who is currently leading in votes received for the Pro Bowl.
So leading at that particular position.
This particular position.
I mean, gosh. So the way you're asking me the question,
you'll never guess it.
I'll never guess it. Okay, well then I'll guess Peter Skoronski.
It is not. It is Jaquan Jackson as the return specialist in the AFC. The leading vote getter for the Pro Bowl is Jaquan Jackson.
Right. Do you have the list of vote getters?
All I got in front of me is on what's on NFL.com as to who's the leading vote getter at this position in the AFC and the NFC. He's at 1 in the AFC, and Kevontae Turpin is number 1 in the NFC for the Cowboys.
Wow. Okay. I mean, the thing is, you say that, and this is a little bit of a glimpse at how return man has become so de-emphasized in the league, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because no one immediately comes like, well, what about blah, blah, blah from wherever? But I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Right?
Well, I guess my question is,
well, how?
Why has he come to mind? I guess is the question.
That's a great question. This is fan voting.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, like, I mean, this has happened with my kids. It's like, hey, family, let's all vote for, this kid to do something.
I guess.
So Jaquan Jackson has some friends and family who have loaded up the ballot.
He's related to Ed Reed.
Well, there you go. He's got pull. Yeah, I mean, that's
right now the only Titan.
And the fact that we're saying that after what just happened Sunday is especially wow.
The leading vote getter for return specialist in the AFC right now is Jaquan Jackson. So maybe Colt Anderson's not in trouble after all. I mean, you got a Pro Bowl returner, then you seem to have done a good job if you're Colt Anderson.
And in his bio, you developed a Pro Bowl returner and also one of the league's best kickers, Nick Folk. That's pretty good.
Look, the Pro Bowl's been dead for a while. It officially died with me when the guy that we saw play quarterback for the Dolphins this year, Snoop Huntley, was a Pro Bowler for Baltimore a few years ago. That's when I was like, okay, let's never pay attention to this again. This is yet another example of that.
But it's still, we'll see, how it ends up. But it is still one of those things that, I mean, look, it impacts contracts.
It does.
It impacts how you evaluate like your player acquisition, right? Well, in these 5 drafts, they had 3 Pro Bowlers, right? So it still matters. I mean, that's why, it's like Pro Bowlers, and then you have like the alternate QBs when everybody doesn't want to play. That shouldn't count. They shouldn't count on the record of I drafted a Pro Bowler.
But right now, this would not be an alternate. Like, he would be the Pro Bowler, which is incredible. But shout out to Jaquan Jackson. A lot of negativity around him this week. Could be looking forward to a Pro Bowl
NFC
at the end of the year, which is no longer a bowl. It's whatever they do now, the flag football, the Pro Bowl games, or whatever it is.
You can still be stripped and fumble in flag football. Just saying.
Or run into your own teammate and drop the ball. You can do that
too.
In flag football too. Derrick Henry, by the way, the leading vote getter for running backs in the AFC.
Okay. That makes sense.
Former Titan.
That one makes sense.
That one does add up a little bit. 615-737-1025. Joe, a lot of thoughts on the Preds today. 7-12-6 to begin the year. They're back at it tomorrow, taking on Toronto. Just an incredibly disappointing start to the year. We had a lot of different questions come up today about the coaching staff, about Barry Trotz and some of the decisions that he's made. And one question that I think is also really interesting. We brought up the 8-point deficit that they have to make up a playoff spot, which on the surface is not a huge gap, right? Like 8 points, teams have made up 8-point deficits and made the playoffs, certainly with this much time left in the season. One interesting question that somebody asked us is, all right, who's falling out? Which is, is Minnesota falling out? They're 16-4-4. They're number 1 team in the league. Winnipeg's 18-7.
Pretty good coaching in Minnesota, it seems like. Go ahead, keep going.
Dallas, don't think they're falling out. Vegas, they ain't falling out. LA is 14-8-3, 31 points. They've been pretty good. Vancouver, even without their goalie, Lankinen has stepped in and has done a good job. They're a pretty good team, particularly when they have full strength and Besser's in there and JT Miller's in there. Edmonton is a wild card team right now. They're not falling out. Calgary, I'm not a huge believer in. So Calgary could fall out.
Okay.
But you still have Colorado, St. Louis, Utah right there on the cut line right now for the playoffs that you also have to pass. So it's not just about your deficit. It's also about these other teams. They have to lose some too. And who's going to be the team that does that?
Yeah, I mean, some of the issue is that there aren't many terrible teams in the West. I mean, basically, again, right now, that's what you are. So, but you shouldn't be. But, it's the Blackhawks and the Sharks and Ducks are about where you kind of thought, Kraken are disappointing too. Not nearly as disappointing as you are. But, then it's a bunch of, like Utah, St. Louis, some of these teams, they should absolutely end up better than them.
I would agree.
But will they?
Colorado's on the outside looking in right now too. Now, again, they're 2 points back.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be fine.
I agree. But somebody's got to fall out.
Yeah.
Multiple teams. Like if Calgary falls out and Colorado goes back in, that still doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you're the Predators.
This is where you focus on you. You focus on you.
Just
win some games. Win some games
possible.
And see if you can, if you do that and you actually find a heater at any point, you probably will look up and the situation will look a little bit better. I mean, do that first.
Fun show today.
Yeah. Tell you what, we got to everything but a superfluous nipple, basically.
We did.
I think I said superfluous wrong.
I think you did.
Great way to end the show.
We'll be back
Tika.
6 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
You said that wrong before, too. Jason Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.